Watch! Hey, what's up, everybody?
I got nervous for a second. What is that?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've been gone for 2 weeks. A week. We missed last week. Yeah, I was. Well, you had anniversary stuff. I was visiting folks. In fact, last Friday, around the time of the second watch, my dad and I were half a bottle into bourbon. So it was a good time. So
I don't remember what I was doing, but I was probably naked. Yeah, it was anniversary weekend last weekend, so no show.
Yeah, but we're glad that everyone's back. We're glad to be back. And
Absolutely.
Death Angel Shadow reminds me, because I'm always forgetting to tell people this. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Hit share. All that other stuff. It's free. We appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff. Good to see you. We got Flint Fireforge going to be talking to us tonight about some stuff. But before we get him on, just some brief news. Recently did a quick video with a friend of mine, Legacy Game Mastering, 5 obscure games we think you should check out. That actually inspired Legacy to go back to his YouTube channel, and he's going to actually start going into some of these rare games. I highly recommend you check it out. The guy is like an encyclopedia of weird, random, obscure stuff. Legacy Game Mastering. Last week during Valentine's Day, Nerd Cognito did a giveaway. Some of my stuff was given away. If you're watching, I have your information. You'll be getting it before the weekend's out. And that includes my new Shadowdark zine that there's something that needs to be fixed. I'm teaching myself Affinity Publisher, but that'll be going out to a couple people. And that my Living Darkness Volume 1 zine should be up on drive-through, hopefully before the end of next week. Shout out to Bacon, who said he'd help me fix my mistakes. And finally, I am 1 follower away on Facebook to start streaming there. So if you're on Facebook, please give me a follow on Gaming with Lord Mattias. I'd like to start streaming there. All due respect to Rumble, but I'm not sure Rumble is working out for me, and I'd like to try to experiment. Maybe Rumble is where I should go. I don't know, but I need to experiment. So please, I know Gary has his opinion, but love to see you. Love to see you guys on Facebook. Yeah. So with that said, Gary, you had something to say? No?
I had something to say. Shit, what do I have to say? Hey, the only thing I've got to say is Stars Without Numbers fans, drink.
I'm not drinking tonight. It's Lent, but
too bad for you.
I know.
Crawford just released a new, what is this called here? Let me pull this up. It is called Proteus Sector, a Stars Without Number Gazetteer. So if you are a Stars Without Number fan, give that a look. And it just kind of dropped. I didn't know it was going to happen. And it's actually Crawford. So that'll be fun. Matt, I know you didn't get to game because you weren't at our game on Thursday night.
That's right.
I was at our game on Thursday night. And let me tell you, we were suffering from a lack of muscle. I don't even know if it matters if you come back. What we need are fighters. So,
dude, I'm playing a mushroom guy. I mean, I'll be able to like raise dead.
That sounds like some 5e rainbow shit. I'm playing a mushroom guy.
Wait, no, mushroom.
Anyway,
spore caster. That's what it is. It's the most. I honestly think. Alexander Macris was channeling James Radji with that character class because this is the weirdest, twisted class. I immediately was drawn to it. I want to make beer, hallucinogenics, and raise spore zombies. It'll be fantastic. Just
Well, we need muscle. Anyway, but it was fun. I wouldn't say there was like no experience except Chubby was good enough to hand out a little bit for everybody just kind of showing up. Um, we didn't fight. We still haven't had a fight.
Well, then what do you need warriors for?
Because we found a vault, a dwarven vault with about 50 corpses outside of it.
And I can raise them. And
Well,
now
we
we have an
stacked them-
army of
Well,
zombies.
we stacked them up for you. Either way, point being is that it was a good time. Thank you, Chubby, for doing that. I'm having a good time. We need more warriors. And that's about it, man. That's about
Yeah.
all of my gaming for the
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I really enjoyed the one game of this I played. I'm looking forward to the next one because my sportcaster is awesome. Anyway, with that said, let's get the man of the hour in here.
Flint Fireforge, my
What's up, dude?
What's happening?
Flint, we met at North Texas, and I really imagined that I would get online about once every 2 weeks and play a game, and you'd be there. But our paths have not crossed
Yet.
and all this yet.
Indeed.
But you've been real busy, man. You tell everybody about your channel, and then I want to talk about this new Crit Happens that you have coming out.
Yeah. First of all, appreciate you guys having me on to chat and to talk. And yeah, I've been keeping my head down, just doing a little bit of writing, trying to put some video stuff out. Been doing a lot of shorts lately on this book that I've been reading called Collaborative Campaign Design. There are some good things in it, and it's not everything I would do, but there's some good ideas in it. So I've been trying to do some shorts on that, as well as my usual daytime job, working at the Boys and Girls Club in the afternoon. And just keeping my head down, trying to find good things to write about, especially with the new stuff. Shadowdark. It was my first Shadowdark resource. And we were talking earlier, where Shadowdark, as the book and the content and the setting, all those, there's a lot of empty space on the page to be able to fill in those spaces. And I remember reading when I was doing first edition D&D way back when, you were able to get titles, right? You were able to become something, right? And over time, for me as a young guy, I was like, oh, I get to be that. That's cool. What does that mean? Well, none of my friends knew what that meant because there was no process for it. It's like, well, what does that mean that I'm now conqueror or whatever I am at level 6, right? So for me, that's one of those white spaces that are on the thing there. It's like, well, I'd like to fill that in because when I was, playing that, I was like, well, I get to do that now for somebody who says, well, I think that's important. What does this title mean? And so I was able to put together one of my zines for Shadowdark, and it's called Earning the Blade. And basically goes level by level through Shadowdark, the fighter titles, whether you're lawful, neutral, or chaotic. And then I give basically steps for each of those levels of what they could become.
Here, I'm going to share it.
Well, one, it looks good. The layout's great. It's easy to read. So thank you for that, because I'm old and my eyes are going bad.
Yes. I write with old people in mind. That's my goal.
Thank you very much.
You're my target audience.
I was also going to say, well, when I was reading it, it reminded me of, how in Beck Me at the higher levels, there's the different paths the fighter chooses.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's not, and for anybody listening, don't, make no mistake. It's not as tight as that, where you have to do this, you have to do that, yada, yada. But it does kind of layer some of that in. And I think a creative game master could use that to maybe even develop factions. Who is this guy going to for his test? What is he doing?
Exactly.
I really liked it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's as much a world building book as it is a mechanic, which, it's fine. When I was a kid, because there was no methodology or process for the title or to achieve it, or what does that mean? You know, and that basically you just basically erased one number to write down another number for your level. And in this case, my goal would be to equip dungeon masters to say, listen, you could do a lot of world building with this because, like you said, part of the four ingredients, what I call the 40 ingredients to level up, is first of all is the requirement. What must you achieve before you can take the right?
Yep.
So there's the requirement, there's the review. Who is going to review this? What do you belong to? Who is going to judge you uh, for, you know, the right you're about to take? Then you have the right itself, some sort of test of, you know, feat of courage or bravery or those type of things. And then of course you have the reward. What do you get from that? But like you said, building a, you know, when you build a faction around it, or you build you know, groups that don't exist, right? I mean, before
Right.
before you're playing, you didn't have a group, you didn't have a council, you didn't have a thieves guild or a, you know, something like that. But now you're connecting those things to where you're helping the player's character be able to build, not only you're building depth of your world, but you're also building depth of your characters, of the characters that are
Yeah.
playing around the table.
No, I liked it a lot. I was curious if you had done any more for any of the other classes, or if that was something you were thinking about doing, or
Yeah, I'm already almost done with priests. I'm
nice.
getting that. My friend Tim Schwartz is taking a look at that for me, so that should be out very soon. You know, Chubby says, "Does not my character not level up instantly on the spot?" You sure you could, and that's why it's optional, right? These are optional rules for every table. But you know, on odd levels, you do get a talent, right? You get a talent roll. The
Right.
goal is too is you can fill in the gaps and say, well, what happens when I'm at level 2? Well, you don't get anything per se, right? I mean, there's treasure and all the things, but what if you added that leveling up part to mean something? Well, you get a talent here, but we're really going to go ahead and test you here. You're going to go for your, just like in karate, right? I mean, you would go for your belts,
Yep.
right? You go for
Right.
these various belts, and you say, okay, well, now this belt, and then you'd have to go and you'd have to show your kata or anything like that that you had to do, break boards, whatever you had to do to achieve that, which made it, you know, obviously the belt means, you know, that much more because you had to practice it, you had to go through it, and you had to achieve it to
Right.
you know, to get it. So yeah, so
No,
you
I
get
think
that. So at
that's
second level, when they achieve second level, that's an option. You can opt with your players and just say, is this something you guys want to do? Because I have it ready. I would, you know, if you guys want to go ahead and, you know, go through that, well, then there's all the tools and all the little seeds of ideas are in there already.
Hey, I have a question for you. I've thought this about Shadowdark, and you have more Shadowdark experience than I do. The cleave rule in Shadowdark, would that screw things up? I always feel like the fighter gets shortchanged. So the cleave rule is after you the way they use it in axe is after a fighter kills someone, if there's another enemy like a space away, they get to make another attack. And if you can do it as many times per level as long as it's a fatal blow, right? So would that unbalance Shadowdark? I'm just kidding. What do you
Lord
think?
Mattius would know that better than I because he has actually played axe. I have
Ah,
not, unfortunately.
That's actually a good question. The thing about Shadowdark is you got low hit point thresholds and for a lot of things, for both the players and the monsters.
and the monsters.
I think just going with the core book, I believe my take on the fighter is that they are kind of they're the ones that are going to be wielding the more powerful weapons. So the cleave might actually unbalance things a little bit, but at the same time, you're not going to have a ton of hit points at level 3. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
I'm just
that's a
curious.
good.
I always
I
feel
don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. I
I
think it
always
might be
feel
worth
like fighters
experimenting, but
yeah, I always feel like fighters get short shrift in just about every
yeah.
game. I feel like they get disrespected.
Well, I
So
don't know. I've never bought into the whole quadratic mage linear whatever the hell it's called because like is a problem to me. That's a feature. High level mages should be scary and
yet
powerful. You know,
yet your favorite thing about Lamentations of the Flame Princess, the thing that hooked you was separating the classes. Like fighters are the only one that get better at this. Specialists are the only
Yeah.
ones that get better at
Yeah,
this.
but magic
Anyway, we
users
have a
and
guest, Matt. We have a guest.
well, I'm
Shit,
just I gotta
sorry,
defend
Flint.
magic is still really tough in there. So anyway,
Please
we gotta
listen. I'm here for you guys. Whatever discussion is happening, I'm in. So if we're talking about axe, go crazy.
I'm just talking about.
I'm here to learn.
I'm talking about in whatever. So
we got a
Flint,
super chat from Mercurius, $5. Thank you, sir. Hippo character with stars growing in his eyes, pumping his arms in the air with the word hype pulsating above him. Is that I don't know what the reference is.
I think I saw something like that at a rave in the 90s once.
I think maybe a reference to the mushrooms that I was talking about using in my character. A little hallucinogenic. And someone made a comment about Super Mario. I think that was Wibbs. I don't know. Thanks, Mercurius. Appreciate it, man. What I like, going back to your crit happens here, what I like is that you were mentioning there's this space that can be filled up. In a lot of these OSR games, specifically in Shadowdark, she gave you these tiers of play, right, with these titles, and then that was it. It's like, what do you do with that? And I really like it. This slots in perfectly, and I don't even think, to kind of the Chubby's point, like this necessarily has to be a thing that slows down your character advancement. Like this could actually be dealt with like in downtime or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the optional type of stuff that I hope that DMs and GMs will use it for. Because if you want to do it at table, right? I talk about this in the zine. I talk about the fact that listen, you could use it two ways. One, you could do whatever the right is for that character as part of gameplay, where all the other part of the party is there to cheer them on or whatever it may be. Or it may be that downtime, right? It may be that time between sessions where you want to do that one-on-one time, maybe, which allows the DM to do some of that away from the table. Which to me, it's all about deepening or the depth of the character, because people want to come back and keep playing this character. I mean, my theory is that look, if somebody's playing this character and you get so to a point where you say, okay, hey, this is a pretty cool character I'm developing here. I'd like him to stick around. I'd like to keep playing him. And of course, you're doing that. You're hopefully getting people back at your table because it's not just hack and slash. Nothing wrong with that. But for the people who really want to develop characters, and DMs who really want players around their table to be more to build out their character more and to build out the world more, especially DMs that are doing that. Well, then I think the tools, are there for that. Yeah.
And what I just sort of like kind of compared what you're doing here to a game that we almost started playing, the One Ring Free League's One Ring Second Edition. There's like these two tracks in that game for experience. You got wisdom and valor, and that gets you feats and stuff. Or I'm sorry, wisdom gets you like these feat type talents, but valor gets turned into like an item that is bequeathed to you from your lord. And that's where you might get a fell spear or like a really cool helmet or something.
Right.
And that's what this kind of ties into. So it's like this neat way. It's more than just like your character gets a new power. It can be like this neat thing, like a shield that have been given to you because you're at this one rank now or whatever. And that I think deepens the character's connection to the world. And makes things really interesting. So
exactly. Yeah. Because if DMs are worried about, too many magic items or too many, well, save that stuff for when they complete their right. If you really want to give them, if you really want to slow it down and you say, I don't want to have a gajillion magic items out there, then save it for that time when they achieve, make the pathway for them to say, I'll get them. Hey, you want the shield of this or the sword of that or great. Just complete your right of what's being asked of you. And boom, it's in. You got it.
Well, and I'd go so far as to say is being kind of inspired by Chubby in this game we're playing, where he's just rolling dice. Everything's random. Shadowdark is full of tables.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do it all random, and they might occasionally get that cool magic treasure, but the ones that they're really gonna value, you know, those ones at that level where there's, I think at level 10, there's like a +1 sword or something like that.
Mhm.
And that's going to be, you know, this thing that will probably never come up on the random. I believe Shadowdark is made to be played with all those tables. You know, like it's goddamn. Sorry, my cat has attacked. I apologize. This happens every fucking time. But let me ask you a question. Have I done the robot tonight? Have I gone?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. No.
Fuck. Because when the internet guy came out here, he was a little sort of this geeky, insecure kid, and I threatened him to within an inch of his life. I said, listen, you fix my internet, you fucking. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't do that.
It wasn't Jim Carrey, the cable guy?
No, it wasn't him. He
No.
didn't want to be friends with me.
No.
So anyway,
Nice.
I do want to ask. So you have 12 of these crit happens, and
Mhm.
this one is fighters. What are some of the others? If people are going to go back and look at those, I really want to. I think they're great. I think what are they, like $2.99 a piece, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Most of them are,
yeah.
a lot of them are $2. That I've started to mess with the price a little bit, only because there's 2 lines, really. So there's crit happens. There's crit example. There's crit happens, like this is number 11. This is the 31 NPCs. This is 31 you know, of Kriesh. So that's in my little world, right? But these are available. Obviously, you can use these, drop these into any game you want, right? It has some stats, has a little bit of background. That's why, you know, I did those 31 videos during the month of January. That I did every day and almost killed myself doing them. Doing them at like 2:00 in the morning because I didn't have any time to do it. So, but yeah, so things like this is part of like what I would say the Kriesh line, right? There's a line of those all I'm doing is creating stuff for that setting. And then you have this here, which is like just crit happens. It's just the kind of like for you know, just so it says tables, tools, and tips for DMs. Those are just separate zines that are out there that just have some ideas, you know, that I have. Like example, there's a back to school one where I talk about why I think schools of magic, schools of fighting, schools of whatever it is, once again, a great way to use downtime, a great way to advance the characters if they want to learn something, if they want to learn orcish or goblin or elvish or whatever it is they want to learn, if they want to learn it in that type of thing, and using, you know, schools to be able to move the character along. And once again, world build. If there's not a school in your settings you're playing, great, put one there, roll it up on a table, and say, here you go. You can go advance a little bit. And there's thoughts and ideas on that. So there are 2 different lines. There's the crit happens Kriesh line, and then there's the kind of everything else that I do just for tips.
I own one that I really liked because I was on a hex flower kick a little while back, and you did one using hex flowers to like actually design segments of your world to create like domains of dread, and the hexes ended up allowed you to world build like these little areas that are like haunted and dark and really super dangerous, and all these hexes are connected. It's what I really like about your Crit Happen zines is they're just interesting conversations that you can sort of like spark. It sparks these conversations in your head, and then you start thinking like, how can I use them? And like I said, yeah, that hex flower one I thought was really good. We got Chubby has something to say. I think what kind of unique crits are going to be available only to people that suck up to Paul at North Texas RPG Con.
Well, if I'm able to make it this year, once again, for those that don't know, I'm having my daughter is having our first grandchild, and so that may happen the first week of that may be the first week of June, or maybe the last week of May. So I will be available to, you know, my family at that point to say, well, what do I need to do? And then, you know, of course, you know, being the guy, it's like, hey, you know, the baby's born, and like, you know, it's all right if I fly out the next day, I'll come right back, you know, but I want to go hang out with the guys. I won't do that, but yeah, so I just got to wait on that. But for those who there, I don't know, I might bring some goodies. I don't know. I'd happily bring some stuff to, you know, to give to people whom I know, not to, by the way, pass out. We frown upon that. We frown upon those things that we pass out at cons and things like that for self-promotion. You know, you should buy a booth if you want to do that.
I know
but
you.
yeah, You know
Nice.
me.
So for
Yeah.
me-
So if you know me, you come talk to me. I'll hook you up.
Well, I think the birth of a grandchild might be worth missing the best con in Texas all year.
I would agree.
But I'm all, but
I would agree.
But you've had babies, right? What do? They come
Well,
out.
my
you
wife's
look
had
at 'em?
babies. I've had no
Okay.
babies. but
Well,
I've had
you've been a part of the baby making process
that I
and
have.
that you have, playa. Anyways, so you know as well as anybody else that once the baby's born, they sleep for like 3 days. They don't know if you're there or not.
Right.
Mom usually shows
I
up.
think Gary's
I'm just
gearing up
saying.
to make a pitch that you bring the baby to North Texas Con.
Oh,
Do
well.
not bring the baby.
And just
to
keep it in
North
one of the
Texas.
things.
It's no place for a baby. Yeah. I will tell you this though. Like I said, I think this past year, I don't know, was it my second year maybe. The fact is that it's now my favorite con. It will probably be, and I don't go to a ton of other cons just because I don't have a lot of time, but for North Texas, that's kind of my that's my gold standard of to be able to go and hang out with folks like you guys and Chubby Funster and Erudite DM and all these other guys and Matt Sherman and all these guys there. That's as you get older, right? That's the place you want to go. That's the place where everybody knows your name. That's the bar. That's the place where you go and you can walk the hallways and that. And listen, I'll have more time, enough time to do that. But I will surely be treasuring the newborn, the grandchild, as it enters this world. So, and I will say, hey, I'll be there, buddy. I'm there for the children. I'm there for the children.
Nice.
My grandchildren.
Hey, Dying Breed, good to see you. North Texas Con is the first week of June, Thursday through Sunday. I can't remember exact dates off the top of my head, but it'd be cool to see you there, man. And if you do go, I'll have a tab open. I have a tab open anyway. What am I kidding? Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be taking care of those. Yeah, the North Texas Con stuff. I have a laundry list of things I have to take care of related to North Texas Con because I'd like to run some games this year. I don't know if I've missed that window yet, but I'm going to look into it this weekend. And I got to get the hotel. So
I'm going to do it just like I did last year. I'm going
to show up.
I'm going to show up and I'm going to look for empty seats at games I didn't sign up for. And listen for people talking in the corner about, hey, you want to go play this? And then I want to go do that. I had the best time. I feel like
that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I feel like if there was an award for fun, I would have gotten it. I feel like I had the most fun. Except for that night where we played that one card game and I was a few too many drinks and bedtime meds in to be trying to interact with humans at that point. Yeah. But other than that, I had the most fun.
Yeah, that was a good time. Good time. So, Paul, I wanted to actually ask you a few questions about your YouTube channel in particular.
It always makes me nervous when a lawyer starts asking me questions like that. It's like, we have a few questions for you, sir.
Oh, when I start doing,
bro,
when I start doing leading questions,
shit about that. Let me tell you, man.
Are you trying? When I hear this, now, are you trying to say? Is this what you're trying to say?
I'll do that eventually. I'll do that soon. No. But I saw that you have a certified therapeutic GM, and tell me about that. Like, what does that entail?
I took a class, and it's run by professional therapist who it's Geek Therapy. I think it's geektherapy.org or .com. And you can take it. I mean, these are professional therapists. And I know that, there's been a few videos out, and I think Joe the Lawyer's done it. I think Tenkar's done it, maybe. Joe Block has done it. Is gaming therapeutic? Yes. Is it therapy? No. Do I work alongside with therapists or social workers? And I'll run games with those folks. And we'll kind of see, because it's just about observation, really. It's really about observing how kids play their characters, what they're doing, It doesn't turn into not from my point of view. I'm not a therapist. I don't ask. I'm playing the game. I'm running the game, and then it's giving the social worker or therapist, whoever's there on the job, saying, okay, how do what are we seeing here? What are we observing? And then maybe them asking some key questions or things like that. So probably one of my greatest fun things I ever did is I taught probably about 80 mental health professionals how to play a role-playing game.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was invited there, and what I did is I broke them up into small groups of parties of 4, and they got a bowl and a 20-sided dice. And I would put things on the screen, and I led them through a brief adventure where then they had to discuss, and because each story was taking place in these 10 different, 20 different groups of 4. And then after every section, I'd say, what happened? What happened? What happened? What did you discover? And so in teaching these mental health professionals doing that, becoming a tool, to be able to just say, hey, and here's why I think it's so valuable. When I was a kid, my dad passed when I was probably 7, 8 years old. And I don't know what kind of trauma I was going through. I don't remember it really well, but they had me seeing the school psychologist. And the school psychologist would come in and he would bring dominoes, or he would bring a game of some kind that we would play. And the point of that, at least in my recollection, what I understand it to be now, was the fact that if I'm playing a game with you, right, I am not necessarily, I'm maybe more talkative than I would be. I'm more relaxed
Yeah,
when
that's
I'm
an
playing
interesting
it.
point. Yeah.
I'm not, sitting in a cold chair getting grilled by, this guy in a suit asking me a ton of
With like
questions
the
about stuff I
notebook and the
know.
pencil.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like, oh, it's very, how does that make you feel?
Yeah. Tell me about the relationship with your mother.
I've gone to
That's
therapy
right, that's
twice
right.
and I have to lie to him. I don't know what it is. There's something in me. I've been twice and I just lie incessantly. I can't
I
help
had
it.
Right.
Yeah, without revealing too much, I did have an interview once, and there was like this questionnaire I had to fill out. It's like 50 of them or something like that. And I kind of was like, I know what they're trying to get at. So I started like, filling it out. And the therapist, well, I'm not going to go into too much, but she's just like, you seem to have a lot of anger. And I looked at her and I go, I don't want to be here. I didn't want to do this.
Sure.
Wouldn't you be pissed? And she goes, yeah, no, you're okay. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah. Although I would say, Flint, it's funny you bring that up because I did work at a home for kids, for boys, for a little while. And one of the things that I'm not a therapist, so I wasn't in a lot of therapy sessions, but there was one time that I did attend a therapy session, and she just had this kid playing in the sandbox. We all sat around and played in the sandbox for about 30 minutes. I was like, what is this? What is going on?
Right. And that's all broken down into, there's play therapy. There's a lot of other things. Once
Yeah.
again, not a therapist. I happen to know some things because I've talked with therapists. I know
Right.
some of the things they do, read a few books, doesn't make me any kind of anything. But the practice of it, so example, I was playing at a home where kids, because of family situations and because of the courts, they had to be there. So I would go in and the social worker would be there, and you're watching kids play. It's new to them. None of them really had any experience with role playing games, maybe. And there was one kid who always would, when battle would start, he'd always run away. And then eventually he just stopped one day and said, "Nope, I'm going back." I said, "Wait, wait, wait." I said, "What are you doing? Why are you running away now? Now you're coming back? Why is that?" He says, and he thought for a minute, he paused and he went, "I don't want to be like my father." Now,
Jesus.
now,
Damn.
you can read this anyway. Once again, I'm not a therapist. That's for the therapist to decide
Right.
what is coming out here. I did not lead the character. I didn't tell him what to do. He built, but here's the deal. I built that then into the backstory, into the game. We were playing Lost Mines of Phandelver. So guess what? Guess who's in the Lost Mines? His father, who thought he had left him, right, for out of whatever. And he was able to rescue his father basically from the thing and find the truth that the reason his father had left was because it was either I go and work in the mines and help them discover this thing, or they were going to kill the whole village or whatever was going to go on. So I put that in there, but the point of that is I don't know what these kids are going through. I don't know what kind of world they're living in. And something they say out of nowhere. We say out of nowhere, but this kid's never played a role-playing game. He's not trying to build backstory. He's not, in his mind, I don't know what he's doing, except that comes out. But that's for the therapist to decide what that is, right? What is going on? That's further questions. That's all that stuff. I'm not asking the questions.
Sure.
I will tell you this. There's another young man who I was playing, and this is one of the Boys and Girls Clubs, and he took all the he at the very last thing, and I don't know, I can't remember. I think he was a thief. He stole everything from his mates, the whole party. He says, I grab everything and I run. I went, really? I said, okay. So on his way out, he almost dies because he had to go back over this rickety bridge. He had to fight with this like a giant Komodo dragon that whatever. And he finally slips out and he gets away with it, like with 1 hit point left. He gets away with it. And then he comes back to me later. He goes, you know what, Mr. Paul? I went, what, buddy? He says, I don't like playing characters like that. Now, did I tell him that was a bad move? Did I tell him, oh, you can't play your character that way? Absolutely not. If he died, I would have said, well, what do you expect? Right. What do you do? Right. So I'm not telling kids how to play their characters, but it's interesting to me that when kids say things like that, they discover something.
Yeah.
Right. They discover the kind of character they do want to play. They didn't like being the character that stole everything from everybody. And so it's a way for students to discover that. It's like, hey, I don't like playing characters like that. So guess what? The next time he plays a character, he probably won't play that kind of character. So at that young age, it's probably about 13 years old, he discovered something. He says, well, I don't think I like that, that kind of play. I don't think I like being that kind of character. So it's a bit of a gut check on his part, which is great. But I didn't, tell him how to do it. Didn't tell him that's a bad idea or anything.
I got a quick follow-up. Going back to the first anecdote about the father. Before you wrote the stuff about the father in the mines, did you consult with the therapist that was, I guess, observing first?
Yep, I talked to him.
And was it like the therapist like, this might be a good idea? Or
the therapist was like, you can put it in there. He says it likely will not be, it's not harmful necessarily, but it is it's there, even if it was made up. Let's say once again, because I don't know,
right?
Nor had that kid ever tell me, nor did the therapist ever tell me that of his background, why he was there, what had happened in his family, any of those type of things. That in putting it in, even from just a character perspective, it was a redemption arc for the character. It's how the game was going to play out.
Sure.
It wasn't necessarily put in to resolve an issue within himself.
Okay.
It wasn't a therapeutic action. It wasn't advised. And had he would have probably told me, well, it's probably not a good idea. Let's not do that. He said, that would be fine. And so wound up doing that. And so at least for the character arc, without my 2 cents in it, I felt like it was good for the story because it was good for that character to say this character now has an arc that he's going to get back to his father. He's going to rescue his dad. He's going to find out the truth. And then this kid from a player character perspective, his character comes full circle, that it becomes a complete story almost in that regard.
Okay, that's cool. I'm really fascinated by this. So it sounds like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're being asked to just show up and run a game for these kids who may have some issues. You have absolutely no idea what these issues are, whatever. Therapist is just observing, but there is some communication with you, I would presumably, like, again, not to get into like the joke about the X card thing, because this is
Right.
serious what you're doing, but like if a kid had like a serious problem with spiders or whatever, and you're like,
Right.
yeah, I'm about to send him into a spider lair, the therapist might
No.
actually tell you, yeah, don't
No.
do that. Yeah.
No, and once again, there's I have, of course, I keep my X cards nearby. When I'm on other streams, I usually have where do I put my? I have somewhere around here. I have like a giant X card. Oh, is that it? Yeah. So like, I'll bring out my X card for like if I'm on 10 Cars Tavern and somebody says something, I'm like, if it's really really bad, I'm like, nope, no, no, no. So in that case, is no, I'm never, unless they tell me, unless the therapist tells me ahead of time, there's an issue. Please don't do this. Right. Right. We don't know how these kids are going to act. I don't know.
Right.
We really don't know how anybody's going to act at a table when they're playing a character. If you go to a con, there's tons of examples of people who just do terrible things. They're not very good players.
Yeah.
And they're acting out some weird fantasy on their part, which is whatever. But when I'm coming in with these students, nobody's ever said, don't use this or don't use this creature. And I normally don't ask. The only time I'd use an X card might be if kids are at the table at a con and there are adults there, because I can't control what adults are going to say.
Sure.
So I give the kids the power that if an adult gets weird about something, that kid can say something. That kid has a voice to say, we don't need to hear that. Right. So I empower the kid in that case.
Sure. But like in the therapeutic, in the realm of like the therapy, I guess, is the therapist guiding you as a game master, like, hey, this is, without going, revealing any, protected privileged information, telling you things, or is it you're just showing up and playing?
I'm just showing up and playing.
That is so fascinating. Oh, okay.
Every therapist will be different, by the way. So just because I had this one who was a therapist and social worker is different than somebody else I might come alongside with. And they might, because you can construct games, right, where it says, okay, they may say I have a client who's very much is trying to get, because these are either, we're not trying to, I don't think the therapist knows how to use the game to get a certain response, maybe. So they say, we really like an opportunity for where kids can speak up, right? Kids need to use their voice more. Kids need to be able to stand up. Can you create a scenario where there's an issue where kids have an opportunity to lay out a plan or give a speech about rallying the troops, right? Because there's two things, right? There's the therapeutic part that says, yeah, I'm a therapist will say, I need to use this game because I have clients that have certain issues. But then you have a total SEL, social emotional learning path, which is about kids learning skills, right? It's both are true. They're both learning skills for very different reasons. Kids who are very anxious in certain situations, kids who need more confidence, kids who need to know how to respond in a situation that, that in game, it's fantasy. So there's no loss, but they learn something in the process of that can be something that they learn outside of the game per se.
So I'm sorry, Gary, but I'm like really fascinated by this.
Go ahead.
So it sounds like to me player agency is really paramount here. So the child can just kind of be, and the therapist who's observing can be like, and in the case of the second path, the kids actually learn some consequences.
Absolutely. Like I today played, there's two kids that I play with on Fridays, three sometimes. It's a brother-sister team. And they're going into a cavern, and there's 3 sleeping lions, mountain lions in there. And these kids choose violence. That's all I'm saying.
Every time.
I ask them every time. So what would you like to do? I'd like to go up and kill the lion. Okay, we want to go up and kill. All right. So I rolled. Listen, I'll roll. If I get a 1 or if I get a 3, 4, 5, or if I get a 3, 4, 5, or 6, it'll remain asleep. 1 or 2, it wakes up. And I did that for all of them. And they didn't care that they woke up. And then they're fighting with them. One is now down at almost 0 hit points, right? He's at 0 and he's just down. It's a brother-sister, by the way. The sister does not care that the brother is dead. But, he's moaning. I said, do you want to give like a last gasp or a cry for help or anything? He's like, help me. And she's like, okay, I'm going to go fight the lion. And she's still fighting her lion, does not care about the brother per se. And then I asked them afterwards. So here's just an example of just something. It's like, and I asked both of them separately. I said, did you ever think at any given time that you would try to sneak past the lions? They're like, nope, did not think about sneaking past the lions, which is obviously an option, right? You're helping them review maybe in now had one of the characters died. I don't know if they would have felt any different about it or not, but I think they're there just to swing swords and get cash, and that's what they're doing. So I say, good on them. That's their choices they're making, but you're also going to pay. I mean, I did. I'm playing 5e with them, so we did death saves. He had to roll. He missed 2, he got 1. And so, he was almost there until she got to him. And I played it straight. I played it just like, okay, mountain lions are creatures. If they're getting chopped up, more than likely, they may not want to stay in this fight. They're getting chopped to death they're going to rethink, right? From an animal instinct. They're like, well, I'm not going to keep fighting this person. I don't know if that's in my best interest. So I rolled. We did that. We went through that. And they did enough damage to most of them that they said, hey, we're out. We're done. We're done messing around with this. So, little things like that you're watching for in the game, just as a game master and working with these students, just saying, man, but do you ever think about sneaking up? Nope, not at all.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that because I played Shadowdark. I agree, Bacon. I wish I could do that too. But I played Shadowdark, introduced the game to my son using Shadowdark. And he learned a very valuable lesson his first game because I'm rolling randomly and we're like developing the world, the town that he's in and all that stuff. He encounters some thugs. He's 4 versus him. He thinks he's Mr. Tough Guy. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? I literally did the Gary Gygax thing. I said it 3 times. Okay. He died, got down to 0 hit points, I should say. They steal all his stuff and he rolls his death save or whatever, and he actually rolled a nat 20, so he got up with like 1 hit point, but they were gone. He got up and left the room to kind of pout a little bit, and I was like, okay, take some time, maybe we're done for the night. The next couple days later, I asked him, do you want to play again? And he's like, yeah. You know what he did? I'm like, he doesn't have any stuff. He says, well, I'm going to go out to the river that I discovered the other day. I'm going to build a fishing pole. I'm going to fish and I'm going to sell the fish so I can buy some new armor. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, we can do that. And then he bought the armor, got himself a new mace. And then I'm like, okay, what do you want to do now? He goes, I want to ask around town to find out where the thugs' hideout is.
Oh, there we go.
And then he got his revenge, and he killed 3 of them and pressed the 4th one into service. And I was like, oh my God, is this how villains are made?
It's exactly how villains are made. Exactly.
But that level of
lesson learned.
Yeah, exactly. And I would like to think he learned his lesson. But then we did have this Shadowdark on the Borderlands game I played. And one day my in-person gaming crew, they were kind of like, well, what are we going to do? And my wife had something to do. So I'm like, well, I'm going to bring Ben with me and, let's just do this. And so they're in, the caves of chaos. They get chased out of the kobold lair for the second time. And my son decides to go across the way to the ogre lair. And I'm like, everyone's like, don't. And he's like, yeah, I think we can fight him. And I'm like, oh God. My friends actually were able to drag him away. They had to physically wrestle my son's character away, assuage the ogre's anger. And then they were like, we're first level. You do not pick fights with ogres. So
Absolutely. That's once again wisdom. Wisdom is as an accumulated thing.
yes, absolutely.
Well, I have pretty soon, and I decided when the West Marches Kickstarter, when I get that in the house, that's when I start the kids. I think at that point, Alaric will be 8. My middle boy will still be 9, close to 10, and we'll be going on 16. So there's a little bit of an age, a little bit of an age difference, but I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm curious, I'm dad, right? So when I run a game, for me, what I'm thinking is I can't go easy on these guys. If I go easy on them, they're gonna know I can't do anything like
Right.
that. When you're playing with kids, are you still rules as written, or do you sometimes, and I'm not talking about the therapy thing or
Right.
anything, but just just younger folks in general, how are you? How strict are you? How much do you follow the rules?
I follow them. Let's put it this way. With one group I'm playing Castles and Crusades, another group I'm playing 5e, another group I played Tiny Dungeons. In all of those scenarios, right? I'm really not teaching them the rules. I'm not teaching them the game. I don't want you to be better at Castles and Crusades. I don't want you to know everything about Tiny Dungeons or 5e. I want you to be a role player. I want you to play your character, right? So I'm looking for, can they give me reasons, right? Are they a reasoning? Or can they tell me a reason why they should be able to do something, right? Can they come up with ideas? I'm not looking. Look, the dice decide. The Lions were a dice roll. They
right.
know I'm not right. It's out in the open. They see it. The dice speak, right? So if this happens, this happens. If I roll a 20 and you roll a 1, this is what happens. So, like example, the lion rolled a 20 on the kid, and he got shook around. He got snatched, he got bit, and then he got right. The thing just took at him. And that's why he was on the ground and had a paw on his face, keeping him there. Later, I told him, he says, he's saving you for later. You know this, right? And to be able to, munch on you. And so I let the dice decide. So it's not as much as, like I said, I'm not there to teach them the rules. They'll learn the rules as they go. I'm not there to teach them a rule set. I'm there to teach them, let them have an experience. Because at that age, it's not about what you remember. At least what I remember about when I was playing wasn't the rules. It was the experience that I played a character and did a thing. So my goal, hopefully for future them, they may never play this game again until they get to college. And they'll be like, I played that. This is a game. I know this game. I played this at a Boys and Girls Club. Some old stupid guy to play these games with us. And and once again, I'm not looking as the GM, I'm not looking for a way to kill them. That's not my goal. The rules will be there. I'm looking for them to give me a reason why they shouldn't die.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm looking for them to make good choices. I'm looking for them. I'll give them do you really want to do that? All this kind of stuff as well. And for the most part, I've not fudged the dice. They have always gotten away by the skin of their teeth because of some last minute decision they made. It was like a last minute, and great. Give me a reason to save your life.
Yeah.
Give me a reason for this thing not to happen. I'll roll dice. I'll do whatever that is, but you've got to help. You got to help yourself. Help me help you, right? Mr. McGuire, help me help you. And so I'm looking for reasons. I'm not there to teach them a rule set as much as I'm trying to teach them how to play their character and come up with some good ideas. And then they'll learn as they go. And that's fine. They're not there in other words, they're not going to remember after we played D&D a few times, two different kids from two different clubs after we played, they asked for it for Christmas. So somebody got a box set, a starter set, and somebody got a player's handbook.
Oh, that's cool.
Goals achieved as far as I'm concerned. So they went home and enjoyed the experience enough. that they said, I want that. And so that's kind of my long game strategy, that because the cement is wet at that 12, 13, 14 years old, that those impressions that are made, that they had a good time, there was danger, there was scary moments, there was those things, they were victorious, there were wins, there were some losses, that they enjoyed the experience as a group enough that they will want to replicate that somehow in their later years. That when they hear about it, they'll go, oh, I did something like that. That was cool.
I'm gonna have to get up in a second and refill my drink. But one last question: are you a minis user, maps, minis, or are you a theater?
Yeah, I do. And here's why: I use them not because I think they're the absolute best. Kids, a lot of kids are visual learners, right? Now you can play theater of the mind, but there are some kids that can't, for whatever reason, can't picture what I'm saying, right? If they don't know what an orc is, they don't know what an elf is, they don't know what a thing is, they get the representation there. So I don't make it real super strategic, right? It's a lot of, all right, you can move this far, you can do that far. It's not a lot of, I tell them the things are 5 inches, right? Those are 5 inches.
Yep.
If you,
we lost you, Flint.
We lost
I got no voice.
Am I here now?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, that's once again that sensitive button there that if I grab it, if I grab that button, it'll go off. So yeah, so when I'm doing that, the reason I do the minis and the maps is for visual learning, but it's also a way to give them something when they leave the game. So they get to keep their miniature. I'll say, that's your miniature, because then it's a token. That's a thing. They keep their dice, they keep the token, and I give them a certificate of accomplishment, that they accomplished this particular adventure. Or they I call it my questers program. I call it the questers program. And there's a whole thing that I give to teachers and things like that if they should want me to come in and do that with their kids. So if they complete it and they finish an adventure, they go and get that, but they get to keep those things as a reminder of their experience. And so they got some funny math dice. They got a little thing here. They got the little bag with all the little stuff in it that they had and all that stuff. So my goal is to make sure there's something that they pull out of their drawer one day and go, oh, I remember these. This was fun. And this guy, this little thing here, which gets me into, by the way, at some point when I finish with all these groups, I'm almost done with all the groups doing that. I'm just going to go back and we're going to paint minis. And I'm going to show them how to paint their miniatures. And then that's something they have done as well. And then they can use that in the next adventure that we may play, and use the adventure they pick and paint.
Well, that's very cool. Wow. I'm sorry, Gary, you had just going to take off?
I'm good. In fact, I need to take a second. I will be right back, gentlemen.
Well, we have a couple super chats, so it's perfect timing. Disco Barbarian, $5. Good to see you, sir. Thank you very much. Yard Dog brothers and sword sisters, chilling, reading some Flashing Blades RPG. Oh, very cool. And listening to the hottest show on TTRPG Fridays. Entertain me. Well, thank you, sir. Really appreciate that. Good to see you. And then Mercurius, $2. Thank you again. In defeat, malice. In victory, revenge. And just to kind of tie that into another comment. Thank you, Mercurius. Erudite. He caught quite a few fish. My son actually has a thing about fishing. So with the Shadowdark, that first thing with some random Shadowdark stuff. The Shadowdark on the Borderlands game, I let him bring that dwarf character into that game. And the first thing he did when he left the keep was head south towards the river and start fishing. And they're all over there talking, trying to figure out what to do, because I love my in-person gaming crew, but they are not OSR players at all. I used to put them in a sandbox. They'll starve. They'll die of dehydration. But so God bless them. But they're sitting around, and so if you remember the map, to the south across the river is the thieves camp, the bandit camp. So I had them all make perception checks, and my son was the only one who got it. So I'm like, yeah, as you're fishing and they're arguing behind you, you see a little plume of smoke rising out of the forest. And Ben's like, oh, we heard about bandits. You think that's them? And that they had the adventure. So yeah, my son's got a thing about fishing in RPGs, so I had to come up with like a quick
That,
mechanic.
that works. That's right. And I think that's so important too, is that, you're leaning into, just like you would lean into people's characters at your table, you want to lean into whatever they're into. Like
Oh yeah,
if they want to do a thing, okay, do a thing. Let's figure out how that makes it work within the game, to be able to, it's one thing if you tell an adult, okay, you get to rules lawyering and everything else, like, well, you can't have this, you can't have that. Well, listen, if you're playing and teaching kids how to play a game, an imaginary game where imaginary things happen, okay, why would I not? And once again, here's a kid said, what did he say one time? That the gods had dropped him a sword out of the sky or something like that. I said, yes. I said, but it's too heavy for you to pick up. So he got it. It was just too heavy. So there's some of that there. I said, well, but listen, you might be able to pick that up later on, if you want to. So I work with them to do the things that if they can dream it, if they can think about it, if they can do it, and then put in some guardrails to that,
sure.
to where it just doesn't, fly off the table. Then yeah, why not? Let them come up with that weird idea, whatever it is they want to do.
That's interesting. So my follow-up question to you is, because I've run into this in my in-person gaming crew. We started Gods of the North. There's been some great stuff that's happened, but there's a lot of frustrating things that have happened to me, and a lot of it is related to sort of like the player agency. They're very used to being on some kind of rail. They like their story. They like that adventure path. We've been doing it for years, and that's why I'm like, guys, let's try something new, please, for the love of God. And so I've told them, like, look, I'm going to be open. Like, if you, I have rule sets. It's all OSR. I can plug and play. If you got an idea, you show up with a character class you want to use, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. And it's like, eyes glaze over. So my question to you is, do you find playing with kids to be a little bit more creative? Like, are they more open to that sort of like whatever free expression kind of thing, or are they hesitant because they're not sure of the rules?
Both. Because I think what it is I think, just like any game you play, and a kid says, well, how do you play that? Well, if I told you there are no rules, like,
right,
what would you do? Right. I mean, they'd be like, oh, I don't know what to do. Is this right or wrong? Am I doing it right? Right. That's the big question. Am I doing this right? And the thing is, okay, I don't think, at least the kids I've played with, are super imaginative. Some need some guardrails, and some operate, a little bit beyond that, right? So, it's a mixed bag of kids. It's neither good nor bad. It's just a mixed bag of kids. But you want them to feel like, at least I try to, as much as I can. By the way, once again, these kids are brutal. They're savages. Okay. Some of them are just straight savages. In one game, we were fighting this froghemoth, and the one young lady came up with the idea that says, well, I think we should sacrifice somebody. What? Excuse me? Say again? I think we should sacrifice. Well, who do you want to sacrifice? She points at the kid across the table. We should sacrifice him. I went, in what world do you think this is going to help? I don't know what do you think? Do you think it wants a sacrifice? So these kids are creative enough to say they want to do something. They're not bashful of it, right? They want to try something, but I also try to ground it and say, okay, I try to help them understand that killing him may not solve this problem. You may be, trying to do surgery with a hammer, and it's probably not the best idea. So you're helping them process. Their brains are on fire. Middle school students' brains are on fire, man. So you put them in a creative space like that, they're going to try anything. They're going, and as a GM, I have to be ready for that. They're going to come up with some crazy, nonsensical idea, and I got to say, well, okay, let's see how that fits in here, right? I don't think if you're playing with kids, you need to be super serious about the whole thing. I think you have to play with them and figure that out. So I think you're going to get both sets. Kids who need some guardrails, like, how do I do this? Right. That's how their brain works. I need a process. And you got some kids are like, hey, everything's available. What are we doing here? Let's sacrifice somebody. I don't need any rules. What rules are these? Let's go ahead and just, take care of this.
Well, that's interesting. So it's almost like kind of like lean into the potential gonzo nature of like what's going to happen. I know one of the second keep Shadowdark on the Borderlands game I ran, my buddy's son, it was also like a Dungeons and Dads thing, right? So my buddy's son brought some of his friends with him, and one was this girl, and they had like this 5e group, and I was showing them Shadowdark. And it was pretty hilarious because I was doing theater of the mind. Though after our conversation tonight, I might start incorporating more miniature, but she kept saying, she would ask me, hey, I want to do this thing with my ranger. Is that legal? Can I do this legally? Can I do this legally? It was like every time just that. And I kind of was like, at one point I was just like, hey, it's okay. You're role playing. You're stepping into the shoes of your character. Just tell me what you want to do. And if I need you to roll, I'll tell you. So, and if you have questions about what your character's seeing, feeling, experiencing, ask the question. And then, don't worry about it. It was pretty funny. By the end of the game, she just was like, that was a lot of fun. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Well,
because they're so used to playing like the tactical 5e
right.
stuff, you know what I mean?
Right. And in my head, I'm going too, some kids grow up in homes where there are rules, and there's some kids who grow up in homes there are no rules, right? There's like, like us, we grew up and like, be back when the spotlight, when the street light's on or whatever, right? We're just out there running around doing whatever we're doing. And then some kids, like I said, are very regimented in how they, and so, they're asking us something legal or something, whatever. So they're processing the game entirely different from their backgrounds, right? So
yeah, I think freeing them up to just sort of come up with like, because this was all related to the bandit issue when they were assaulting the bandit camp. A couple of the kids came up with some random ideas about hiding in the trees to like ambush them. She was crawling around picking pockets of the dead bandits while everybody was fighting. It was hilarious. And then they captured a couple of them and brought them back to the keep, which was pretty cool too. Like they were thinking about the consequences, not just, hey, we're getting XP and getting gold. They're like, hey, we might be able to ingratiate ourselves with the seneschal and the I can't remember the name of the keep's lord there, but because I described crow's nests where they, to kind of warn them, don't screw around in the keep because you'll end up in the crow's nest. I mean, you're free to, but there will be consequences,
right.
But it was cool. I just remember just kind of like being surprised because I wasn't used to that. Like, is this legal? Can I do this? It's like, yeah.
I think a lot of players feel that way, adult or otherwise. What can I do? What am I allowed to do? And I think if you take off, kids, don't have any inhibitions, right? They're like, well, okay, like like I said, their brains they don't think, right? Young people do not think about consequences most of the time.
Yeah.
So that's going to reflect in game, just like they don't think about it in other places. They're going to say, well, look, we're going to do this and what could possibly go wrong? And then, then they, in a game, that's the place where you want to learn bad consequences, right? In a game, not real life. You want to learn that there are bad choices, but you're learning them. It's like, oh, yeah, that wasn't a great choice. Maybe I should rethink that.
Yeah.
Like the girl today, she thought, what was she thinking about? She had forgotten her little pack. I said, well, what do you think you got in your pack? I said, you pretty much know what's in your pack. And I think she said she was wanting to heal her brother up. And so she says, well, I think I had some bandages in there. Right. So sure. Think about it and process through of what you think. You don't need the card. The point being is you don't need the card to see what you know you have in your backpack. What do you think you packed in your backpack? You know your character. What do you think you have? Well, I probably packed bandages. Okay. You probably
did. Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to highlight Snake Sean's comment here. Good to see you, man. I ran a Black Hack style rules light post-apocalypse game with a mix of new and veteran players. The new guys actually came up with a lot of cool ideas and kept me on my toes. Not to dive into like the esoteric, but a long time ago, I started reading this book called Zen Guitar, and they talk about new mind. And so like you get to a point where like you're learning all this guitar stuff, but then you want to catch new mind where everything's fresh and new, but you still have all these other ideas. So like, and I've noticed that too. New players get pretty damn creative, and I think especially with kids. And looking back, when this is earlier part of the conversation, looking back when we first started playing the game, I don't think we really knew the rules all that well anyway. We were just rolling dice and having fun, you know. And
yeah.
We knew how to
Absolutely.
resolve actions and run combat. And
that's about it.
And running combat didn't come right away. Like that came over about a 6-month period where your smart friend would open the book and say, well, actually, the first thing we do is that. And every round he would do that. And thank God for that kid, because kids like me, if it wasn't for him, I'd have probably never learned. You know?
Yeah. Right. And there's probably one in every group that if you handed them the book, if I gave them Shadowdark and said, here's the rules, there's one kid in every group who'll go, they will find all the loopholes.
Yep.
And everything that they want for their character.
Yeah, we call them at most.
Yeah. That brings me to the personal part of this, is that I am getting ready to run a game I have 3 sons, and they're all going to play. And I think we've got like a neighbor kid, because he's over here all the time anyway. Grocery shop for 4, not 3, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to get started, and my youngest is incredible. High IQ, doesn't always relate to people that well, you know. But I think he's the one that like I think the other kids won't even ask for the rules. I think he's going to ask for the book, you know. And if any kid does it, I can already see. But I think there's something good about that. I think there's something good about, you know, that there was this time when no players really knew the rules. And there were books that said, don't let your players read this book. And I think games, you know, role-playing games, especially D&D style, you know, fantasy games, were better for that. And I think that's why kids could be a lot of fun. I've run mine through a few games, and they're like, well, what can I do? I'm like, you can run and you can do something. You know, you can move and you can do something. You can do something and you can move. There you go. And they have at it. But I will say, the first time I played with my kids, I ran them through a DCC funnel. All 3 of them at the same time. I wanted them to understand exactly what was going on here. I killed all but like 2 of their original characters. And they understand, if they make the wrong decision, I will impale them on a large stake. You know?
Well, you know what? But I think that's a great option to use, because if they're playing 4 different characters, let's say, first of all, they're playing them in a way that, first of all, they know that they're expendable, right? If you're framing the session as, this is an expendables mission, right? This is where you're going out, you guys know nothing. Probably all your characters are going to die but one. And whatever the one survives, that's your guy. That's the guy that's probably going to make it to the next round. But I think that also allows them to get a vibe, right? The wizard, the thief, the fighter, the cleric, whatever it is they want to play. So I think the point in that is options, right? That if I lose a character or 2 from this 4 that I have, but no great loss, right? They're like, well, you know, the goal isn't to keep all 4 alive. The goal is to see which character you want to play. So if you're giving them those options, when you then, you know, when that becomes the only character, then they're like, okay, well, you know, I had 3 other guys bite the dust. You know, maybe I should be careful with this one and how I play them if I wish them to, you know, survive and move along or level up or all those things. So, but I think having that, you know, that pool of characters is a good idea. I'm hoping to do that as an option, and I'm trying. different systems with different groups. D6 here, Castles and Crusades here, 5e here. Find out how these guys, middle school students, adapt with different rule set types, which is my goal.
Right. Do you think do you find what actually, let me ask you, what do you think the most fun rule set is? Like, what are the group of kids that have taken to it the most? Is there one they like the most?
Once again, I don't think it's about the rule set. I think it's more about the company they keep. It's their group. It's those 4 or 5 kids that are playing Castles and Crusades. Nobody says at the end of a game, "Man, I really love those rules. I love that. I love that rule set."
Absolutely. No,
Nobody says that. Everybody says, "I love that game." And what they're saying is, "I love being around this table with these people that I've just played this adventure with. The rules are there for whatever." So nobody says, I love that rule set. Unless you're, geeks like us, maybe, that says, "Well, I love that rule set." Or I love, 10 different rule sets to compare them to. If you're playing with kids that have never played before, well, they don't know Shadowdark from DCC from 5e. So the rule set to them, they have nothing to compare to. They're playing the game. The game is me running around, doing things, killing stuff, getting gold, and doing all those things. So, I would say they don't care what the rule set is. They care that they're playing a game that they get to play with their friends in this group. That's what they care about.
And that is great. That's breaking the game down to exactly what it's supposed to be. People getting together to play a game, not worrying about it, and having fun. And I think that's awesome. So
I wanted going back to like the funnel, and just like I said, like when my son's character almost died, like he had a little issue, and had to excuse himself, and he's in the bathroom and he comes out. How do you deal with death and kids? Like how do you approach it? Like, do you like prep them ahead of time, like, hey, if there has been an issue, and if so, like, how did you handle it?
An issue with having, you mean,
like a player has an issue with character death?
I haven't had that yet. And I'll be honest with you, like I said, they have come very, like today, they're always so close. And I always keep in my bag, a printed death certificate. That they can have for their character should they pass. And you can write in there, eaten by mountain lions. Great. Okay. That's fine. But none of them have had to deal with it yet. And I keep pre-gens with me. Should somebody, somebody's character, pass from this life, we do that. That's fine. But nobody's had to, once again, they've always saved themselves by this much. And I'm always shocked that I have to then come back from the brink that, that they figured something out late in the game that saved them. So
I haven't, this is with younger folks, and because I found this with my kids, what is their grasp on fantasy as a genre? Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember when we were kids, we had a lot of B movies. I think, there was like Conan and Excalibur were like top tier, right?
Yeah.
Willow maybe was somewhere in there for some kids.
Yeah, that came out the year I started playing, actually.
Yeah, but for the most part, you had a lot of B movies. You had Hawk the Slayer. You had a few cartoons. Sinbad. I love the Sinbad movies. Those are a big influence on me. So I'm curious what kids today, their take on fantasy. I mean, I think my kids would say, "Oh, like that show you watch with the dragons."
Well, at the gold standard, at least what I hear, it's either, is that the game they play on Stranger Things? I had a girl run into the room, look at what I had on the table, and go, "Is this what they play on Stranger Things?" So that's one part of it. I think Harry Potter is another, gold standard, right, of what fantasy is for a certain age group of kids. But also, like example, I'm trying to think of the show. What's the Olympian? God, where it's all the Greek gods.
I know what you're talking about. I've never seen it. Can't remember the name, but I know.
I think that's in the zeitgeist with kids as well. as far as that goes. So that's, there's a lot of young adult fantasy novels out there that are out there. If you go to the bookshelves there, it's packed with them.
Yeah, well,
Cool.
cool.
I don't know if they're reading Dungeon Crawling Carl or anything like that. They might be.
Right.
That might be a thing.
So my youngest decided over the past 6 weeks that he's going to come out and watch his iPad in the corner while we watch the new Game of Thrones series. But
Real
I
quick,
get to tell
Percy Jackson.
That's correct. Percy Jackson.
Yeah. But I get to tell him when it's okay to watch. So far, all my kid has seen are these really wholesome scenes between, the knight and the little boy.
Yeah.
But he has got to hide his eyes at the beginning and he needs to hide his eyes at the end. So he thinks it's just like this great story about two friends.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Minus
there's
all
not
the
a lot
poop.
out there.
You're not watching them see the poop.
I didn't let him see the poop. I didn't let him see the 2 foot long schlong at the beginning of whatever episode
I haven't seen this. I'm
not watching it, but I hear the reports and I'm like, yeah.
So you know what? For me. Listen, I got to tell you, as long as we're on this path, a little side path into genre,
a side quest,
a little side quest here. I will say this: if you are a Game of Thrones fan, like if you can still look back at the original series fondly, and season 8 didn't ruin it retroactively for you, right? This series is great because it's this guy trying to do the right thing, surrounded by these people that we know are just fucking evil. They're not good people, right? Kind of like in modern times where I used to tell everybody about the Illuminati and everybody thought I was crazy, but now we know the Illuminati is real, but nobody cares. Anyway, so
anyway, Gary's gone
show.
bye.
No, that's another side quest entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see this show. But I've been sort of saving because I'm a binger. I want to wait till all the episodes out and then I'll, So I've been purposely avoiding any.
The last episode comes out Sunday, and I wouldn't call it wholesome. It's definitely not family viewing.
Oh, if it's from that world, my son ain't watching.
But it doesn't have all the evil nastiness because it's focused on one character, and that one character is like a good guy.
Yeah,
he's just a good guy, which is odd for a Game of Thrones thing. So, anyway, there's my pick of the week.
Well. Well, kind of going back to like the appendix N for this current generation of gamers. Do you think, kind of like a follow-up to Gary's question about their approach to fantasy and whatnot. A couple questions actually. Do you find it difficult to maybe like translate or relate to them in light of, and I have yet to ask you this question, your appendix N, more importantly, like, is there anything lost in translation in so far as some of the stuff that's rooted in, Paul Anderson, Vance, all that stuff? Have you run into anything like that?
No, I haven't. There's no conflict because I think the bigger picture is I think they understand dragons. I think they understand swords. I think they understand fantasy worlds in general. So I don't think there's a conflict. I don't think, at least it's never occurred at my table, of their viewpoint and my viewpoint. Like a student has never corrected me and go, actually, this is not what happens in fantasy worlds, right? So they're all, they're willing to take the leap into the game. And I don't know, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if a lot of our students are reading very much. So I think it's all visual. I think it's watching. Somebody brought up another one. Somebody brought up How to Train Your Dragon. Also, in their sphere of understanding. So there's a lot of things out there that are fantasy driven, and that can be anything, once again, from sci-fi or strict fantasy or whatever it is, or somewhere in between that they're watching. And they'll bring some ideas to the table, but I don't think nothing is concrete for them. Nothing is necessarily this is the way fantasy should be, unlike adults
right
have a very strict some
yes,
people are very strict.
That's why I'm saying you got to get to that new mind.
That new
I
mind.
don't even know what the fact that
new
that came
mind.
from a guitar book. It makes me just want to like walk around and smack everyone who bought it. Just
Well, I remember it used to be Zen, isn't it Zen of motorcycles.
Zen of the
Was that
Yeah, it's like
My-
that. That's the exact
dude,
same thing. Zen in the
my-
art of
I-
motorcycle maintenance.
it's
motorcycle
not the same
maintenance? That's
thing.
what I
Zen
remember.
in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance is
Yeah.
a classic
So-
novel. There's a big
classic.
difference. Anyway,
It's-
go ahead.
So yeah, so I would say that once again, nobody's bringing a ton of what they think it is. Adults do that.
Yeah.
Adults are the ones who say no. How much authenticity has to be, right? There's sticklers that would never happen, right? This will, that kind of stuff. So, if you're playing fantasy, you're playing fantasy.
Yeah.
Have you I mean, like you said that's on a couple occasions kids have gone to their parents and said, "Hey, I want this for Christmas."
Yeah.
Have those shown an interest in anything from back in the day? Have you made any recommendations? Hey, if you like this, read Jack Vance or anything like that, or has there been that kind of interest?
No, it's very singular. Like when I show up to a club, like I'll go to a club and there'll be kids there who I've played games with. And they say, "Mr. Paul, when are we going to play again?" Right. Or something like that. But they're not down the rabbit hole yet because like I said, their brains are on fire. These are moments, these are seeds, right? That will grow over time. That when their brain starts to settle down a little bit and they start thinking about, their hobbies or whatever it's going to be, right? They'll remember these moments, but I don't think nobody's looking for nobody's asking me. None of these kids are asking me, what should I read? Or, do you recommend any good books or anything like that? They just want to experience the moment. And that's fine with me. Happy to recommend to them though, if they want to do that. I did have a kid, that's just talking about, watching kids play. I'll say he's a third grader, but this third grade kid came up, saw the table and looked at me and went, "Can you play a superhero in this game?" I went, "Yes, you can." So the interest, just watching, these kids that'll show up and what's on the table. So then I'll say, "Hey, buddy," so with that kid, I may gather up 2 or 3 of his friends, and just say, "Would you want to play a superhero game? Great, we'll play a superhero game. We'll play Tiny Dungeons or something like that. It's only 2d6 and all of these, by the way, are just encounters. Really, it's an adventure. It's these encounters put together. There's no, on their part, no long-term plan. It's just we're showing up and something's going to happen. I do recommend, by the way, too, Gary, for teenagers, a special middle school.
Well,
that's
one
enough.
teenager and then younger kids.
Okay, that's enough because it's madness. It's madness. I have had children get up on chairs. I've had children fight and wrestle each other as if they were playing their characters. I've had children demonstrate how they swing their swords. It is madness. It is madness what I watch them do. But I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny. I'm just saying it is. If you go more than 4, this is just my experience. You are asking for something.
And 3 of them are brothers. And one is the neighbor kid that practically lives here. They're very comfortable hurting each other.
Yeah.
Like they've got no problem. You know how boys get. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be good. And I'm really, I've waited a while simply because my youngest he has a hard time sitting still. Like you have to give him a task, something needs to be organized or something like that. So it's really, I was kind of waiting for him. He's not going to settle down, but he's smarter than anybody in the house. It's not about him being smart. It's about judgment, really. And I don't mean in the game. I just mean like he's going to decide to sit down. He's going to decide to participate with us, that kind of thing.
Right. And you bring up a good point, Gary, because the least amount of time I play with a group, like the group I play on Fridays, 45 minutes, because there's a schedule, right? I have a schedule of things I have to follow. Kids, we can't just play. Look, if I could play D&D all day, but the schedule will not allow that. So we go 45 minutes. It's usually a pretty good encounter, searching, exploring, things like that. Playing with teens, if you have young kids, especially too, even with teenagers, I'd say you're good at about an hour and 15 minutes. If you can go that long and the story's interesting enough and there's encounters and battles and things that are going on, you don't have to play a long time with students for them to understand the point. If you want to play an hour with them and there's just one encounter, you're trying to do one thing. Like there's no backstory. Like, okay, you're there at the entrance of the cave. Boom. That's where you start. We're not in the tavern where bad things can happen. You're there. You're starting the adventure right now.
Yep. And that's one of the things I was going to bring up. And this is a really silly thing. And maybe it was only for me and maybe it was a fluke. But the one time I did try to get him to play, I pulled out the big Chessex map, right? And I was drawing on it and everything. The last time we played, I bought these like dry erase boards that are a little bit smaller.
Yep.
Go with the smaller, because anything that's empty, you know how regular players are, right? Regular players are like, oh, what's over there? What's this? Kids are going to do that to the nth degree. So I used a smaller board, and it just seemed to work better. I don't know what it is. I went out and bought some really cheap cardboard minis off of Amazon for like $40. I got like 300 of these things. And then there was a set where I think it's like 4 maps and they're double-sided, dry erase, woods, dungeon, that kind of thing. And I think we've played about 3 times, just kind of getting them familiar with stuff. And it works great. You don't need a ton of, you should use minis with kids. Use minis, use minis, but you don't need to go out and spend a lot of money. I think I spent, $80 on the stuff that we use.
And Drive-Thru has paper minis. Drive-Thru has some great paper minis. If you want the silicone flat minis, you can get those on Amazon. Those are, for the most part, fairly inexpensive.
So these all came in like pages that you had to pop out. I think it was like $45. And I'm gonna have to buy something to organize them, But I also found there's some really great companies. There's like GTG Gaming or something like that, and they've got some nice flat minis that, the flat plastic minis are really expensive. There are alternatives to those.
There are.
So, Anyway, but do use minis when you're playing with the youngins.
Have you? It sounds like you know what you're doing is kind of like organized, right? You keep saying Boys and Girls Club. So is this like organized through the school?
Well, this is organized. No, I organize because I have my own program, right? So this is called Quester. So I work at the club. Now, before I started working at the club, I would work with whoever. I would, try it at a school or work with, a therapist or whatever. So, I have that, I've done birthday parties, if you can believe that, as a
cool.
As a paid DM, I did a kid's birthday party one time. That was wild. Those children were wild. The kid wrote his own adventure and said, that's the adventure I want to play. I went, great, let's do that.
Nice.
And we did. And it was epic. It was an epic. That kid will never forget that adventure. Ever, ever, ever. But so with me, I go around to different clubs and I'll just see what everybody's kind of up to. Like within our context, it's a program. For us, it's an SEL type thing, right? It does social emotional learning type stuff, which benefits the kids, right? So I'll do a 45-minute session here. I'll do a 1-hour session at another club. And then after that, it's all the rest of the program day. We go eat, we go outside and play. We go out, we're doing healthy habit lessons. We're, whatever we're doing. So there's lots of other things going around. There's games, there's, board games that are out. There's ping pong. There's, all that stuff that's going on as well. And I got these 3 or 4 kids with the other adults that we have that help work with them. So I'm in a space for a little while, then I'll come out and those kids will be free to kind of just do whatever and go about whatever they're doing. So.
Oh, I see. Just out of curiosity, with some of the kids that you've worked with a lot and gamed with a lot, have any taken on the mantle of game master and you switch seats with them?
Not yet, but I actually have a resource that not that I didn't write, but it was sent to me. The same guys that do the Game Master's Guide to Everything. There's a book, and I've read through it a little bit. It's called Magic and Mayhem for Kids. which is basically like a little DM book, right? So it has, one of the things I would use this for is, hey, pick out some things that you think you would like to, like I would give them, before I would give them a Dungeon Master guide or give them whatever, I would say, pick out some things in here that you'd like to try, right? What would you like? So 2 things. One, it's good for collaborative building. Here's some things in here you want to see in the game. But also, if you want to run a game, that'd be my next level. I'd say, listen, if you would like to run a scenario, let's pick out a few things, and then I will sit back. My goal would be to sit back and coach them, basically. I wouldn't tell them what to do. I would let them run it as they'd want to run it. I'd say, here's your basic mechanic. Here's what you need to do in this scenario. Be descriptive, be as descriptive as you can, is what you're trying to put into the PC's mind of what they see, and then let them decide what they want to do. And then you respond to whatever it is they do. So that's, the basics of that at that age, at least middle school age, they could do it. I would only do an encounter, right? I would say, you're not running an adventure. You're running an encounter. You're saying, this is your encounter. Focus on that. If you can run an encounter, that's great, because all an adventure is several encounters strung together. So if they can do the one encounter, I think you're fine. The kids are fine.
I think it's especially even with adults. I mean, honestly, sometimes the best thing to do is start in front of the cave, in front of the temple doors. The king has hired you to save his daughter from the sacrifice. And then the next adventure is, all right, you saved the princess, and now they're coming after you. You know what I mean? You're going to make your stand.
Right.
Giving them that mission. And I noticed this of all things when I was playing the last Star Wars game. Edge of the Empire was this real loose game where the players were sandboxy and they were going everywhere. As soon as we did Age of Rebellion, every game they were in the military, right? They were rebels. So every game was this is your job. Go accomplish this mission.
Right.
And those games honestly flow better.
The more you can reduce ambiguity.
Yep.
Right. The more you can eliminate that from the game for kids, the more concrete you can make it for them. Like, you're doing this. I'm not leaving it to you to figure out what you want to do. This is your mission. That's what you're going to do. They still have plenty of agency. I said, at any time you can say you're going back to the fort. In this case, go back to the fort. You don't want to go get the treasure. You don't want to save the kids. Okay. What do you want to do? Well, you don't want to save children. We have a discussion on that later, that you didn't want to save the kids, but okay. So I think, once again, reduce the ambiguity, give them very concrete things. They understand roles. They can picture a job or a soldier or whatever that is, and they know that's what they're doing. And that's not taking away any agency.
Not at all. And eventually, if it's a game that continues, and I find this with adults, if it's a game that continues and you're given mission after mission, eventually somebody's going to say, hey, I have an idea, or do you think we could?
Right.
Yep.
That's emergent for that. That is emergent gameplay.
100%.
So don't be afraid. Now, obviously, if you're doing BX, that's a whole sandbox thing. It's go for it. But really and truly, set them at the cave, set them before the temple, lay it out, and it makes for a really, especially if you're using minis, because that game is already different, right? It's already becomes a little bit more tactical, a little more hands-on. You're looking things over. So, yeah.
And they're smart. They'll figure it out really fast. Like these middle school students, they go to a magnet school too, so they're even extra smart. So they found a chest in the hole where the kids were. They had dug it up or whatever, and it had these multiple, like, just squares on it. Had like whatever on it, like whatever. And the kid was saying, well, somebody said, and one of the girls said, well, what language is it in? I said, well, that's a very good question, but it's not a language. It just looks like it's shapes, and these shapes are, just on the chest for some reason. And the other kid goes, oh, that might be to unlock something. I went, maybe. And there's a scenario where in the next part of the room, they're going to have to figure out the order of these shapes. Now, had they not found the thing, they were going to go to find this other thing, and they were going to have to figure out the order of the shapes. And every time they got it wrong, the floor was going to open, and almost to where they're not going to have any room to stand. So every time they do that, you know, it was gonna be chaos. So kind of glad they found that. So that's great. But all that to say, kids will figure it out at certain ages. They'll think a step ahead and they'll go, that's what that is. I bet I can figure that out.
Speaking of which, my kids have figured out that if they're really good, that mom will pass out before they sleep. So I need to run upstairs real quick and put some people to bed. I'll be right back.
Here we go.
Yeah, I when I was doing the Shadowdark on the Borderlands, that was sort of like Dungeons and Dads. So there were some adults mixed in with the kids. It was the father son kind of thing. And there was what was cool was I wanted the dads there to kind of help, you know, when the kids get a little stuck, you know, kind of like help nudge so I'm not having to do anything. And that seemed to work out nice. It worked out well too, you know, as far as like help with like the guidance and whatnot.
Well, I've had dads play with their kids and moms, and I have to tell the dads, that's not your son, that's your party member. You can't treat him like your son. So because a dad will want to instruct.
Yes.
Right.
I've had that experience too. So the Shadowdark on the Borderlands, that was great. With the exception of my son trying to get everyone killed by talking to an ogre.
Yeah.
Everybody was kind of like that. The dads were kind of hands off. They would kind of go in and add a little emphasis to the, are you sure you want to do that? You know? But I did have this one experience, and this was the first time I ran a game with kids. This was back pre-COVID. I was playing a 5e game with some adult, not my usual crew.
Right.
And they were a little bit more like that stereotypical 5e gamer that all the OSR guys like to complain about. Goofy voices, Critical Role fans, this, that, and the other thing. So, but they were like, hey, we'd like to introduce our kids to this, and would you mind running it? So I had five girls who were of, you know, ages 8 to 12, and I think there was a 16-year-old girl, and then three or four adults. And this was the beginning of the end of my like association with this particular gaming crew, because the kids were more well behaved than the adults.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like they were all like interested. They wanted to. One of the girls wanted to befriend the dire wolf that they found, and like, you know, of course, one girl had an idea that she really wanted to use this one spell as a warlock, but like this one parent at the end of the table like made some snide comment about you picking the wrong spell at first level. Like I gave him the evil death glare. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, like, you don't what? Just let her have fun, you know, whatever.
Right.
And there was other comments.
It's about winning. It's still about some adults. It's still about how do you win the game.
Exactly. So, I don't know why I was going on to this. Oh yeah, I guess that is something like you actually touched upon too when you're running games at conventions and you have mixed group. But with like my in-person gaming crew, having them there who I've been gaming with for years, I know exactly who they are, and their sons, like they were not as like, they treated it as like a party member, but they were like the more experienced, the veteran. So they were like, are you sure you want to do that? When Matt starts asking that question, you really got to think about what it is you do.
And you can do that in character, right? You can still do it from a character perspective, that, you know, and be the dad, and in character maybe say that as a fellow party member type of a thing, versus, you know, telling your kids to avoid all the traps or to avoid all the dangerous things, or
you will make your character this way because this is the best thing to do. Or
right, that'd be great, right? Don't you love like a mid-max parent? Like, here's how we're gonna win the game today, boys.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, that was one of the last times I gamed with them. I was infuriated, like the way they behaved. But anyway.
I feel like you got to teach them right though. Anyway. Talking about the
Well, no.
min-maxing parent. I mean, like, you can't let them like have a shitty build just for no good reason. Anyway, sorry. Whatever. Let them do what they want.
That's
No,
right.
that's it. They're having fun. Let them play.
Well, the next question: are you going to do, Gary? Are you going to do 6 straight down the line?
I'm actually thinking of. I'm trying to think of a way to really hook them. And one of the things I'm thinking of, because I'm working on a setting that can kind of fit anywhere.
Yeah. You mean like this setting? No,
something like that.
Throw that in there. If you're looking for settings,
shill, baby, shill.
just letting you know.
Well, I think I'm
Compound on
trying
drive-through
to come up
RPG.
with. I'm trying to come up with something a little special instead of them just being guys who met in a tavern.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be real mission based, but I was thinking maybe something like saying, hey, you guys are all princes, you're all brothers and princes, and you've been sent out by your kingly father to do this thing. I don't know. Just give them something special. If
go and
I feel
become
like
men.
Go
out there and become men.
I don't know exactly how it's going to work yet, but I want it to be a little bit more than you guys are seeking fame and fortune.
Right.
I'd like to instill a bit of, like honor, duty, you know what I mean? That all those, and I'm not trying to be the after school special. I just think that it would be nice to do, we're going to do the right thing.
Well, will there be titles in your game? Because
there's absolutely going to be titles. And in fact, when you were saying let them be what they want and don't tell them what to do, I was like, they're all humans. What are you talking about?
That's right. Hey, kids gravitate to that. Most of the kids that I've had play humans, except for maybe the girls are more prone to choose the quirky characters.
Yeah.
But my 5e game, I got one dragonborn and one human. So, but humans are still very popular.
My son's dwarf all the way. That's all he wants to play, dwarves.
You freaking
love a good dwarf.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And you're one too, Flint. I got Matt and now I've got Bacon.
Yep.
Bacon, these dwarf lovers.
We're gonna have to form our own clan.
Ooh, I like it.
I don't trust the dwarves, which is why I picked Dwarven as my first extra language in the game.
Oh, because you want to know what they're saying. Yeah, we're talking about you.
I had 3, but I was like, no, I don't trust the dwarves.
That's funny.
It's the gnomes you can't trust. The dwarves.
There are no gnomes in Axe. Yes.
Okay, I'm just telling you that.
We had McCrease on this show, and I had to explain to him that I wasn't ready to argue with him about it or whatever. But I thought that his mistreatment of halflings in Axe, I just let him know that it really hurt me. And that maybe we should.
Yeah.
But I also didn't try to argue it with him. I wasn't, I was like, I am not prepared to argue with you about this. I just want you to know.
Oh, and that's a good point too. Just using Dragonborns, and I don't remind kids because I know what they do, but the Dragonborn has yet to use a breath weapon.
Oh, that's funny.
So okay,
that's funny.
You wanted to play a dragon because you could do something. So
all right, yeah.
I'm not telling you if you don't want to use it, go ahead. You could have fried one of those lions today. Just open your mouth and just breathe fire all over them. But no.
Well, I'm excited about my game. Let me ask you a question. What is do you have, I know you're doing the clubs and everything. Do you have a regular outside of the kids? Do you have like an adult game that you're in?
Currently, no, because just for the sake of time. I mean, I work till probably I don't get home. I drive 40 minutes to my job, and so 40 minutes back, of course. So I don't get back till tonight. I think I got back at 7, something like that. And so I don't have I was playing on Monday nights, and I'm and the thing is, you don't want to be the weird guy like this dude only just plays games with kids. What's wrong with this guy? What's this guy's got an issue or like. But that's my context at the moment.
Right.
So, I'm finding an adult game is just hard just because I just have no energy when I get home, just like anybody else gets home from work. I'm not going to bring myself to a table where I don't think I can give my best, where I don't feel like I can play my character and add some value to the table. And just, I don't want to be fill a chair and be a schlub who's just there, especially if it's online, right? If it's an online game, especially, that's not great for content or entertainment or anything. It's like that guy didn't do anything. And then even when you're in a game that's not, that way, I still feel the same way, where if I can't bring my A game and say I'm excited about playing and want to be a part, then I'm not going to drag myself to that table and just, weigh the whole table down because I can't.
Flint, you worry too much. Clear your Thursdays. We'll talk. Anyway.
Yeah,
I do. I probably worry too much, but
I've noticed that.
Well, I'm a type A guy, right? So
Yeah.
I don't do anything half-assed ever.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. Not in my world, because everything I do seems to have, you want to bring your best into it. So
Right.
for me, it's the same way, just whether I'm playing a character or running a game or whatever it is, like I got to be all in. If I can't do it, if I don't feel like I can do it and give you the best I can, then I'm probably not going to do it.
as a self-described type AAA personality, I completely understand where you're coming from. I'm
Yeah.
actually having to back out of games because I've just been pulled in many different directions.
Yep.
This actual past week with the vacation was really not a vacation from my job. My job's doing great.
Yeah.
It was a vacation from all the role-playing games, as I've just been, and I can't help it because I know all these great people. I've met all these great people the past year, and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to run this game," and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds awesome." Oh, but it's
Yeah.
on Tuesday nights. So I'm gonna. So I appreciate it, man. I get it.
And it's an
But-
energy,
but
right?
I will say, we do it. You're always welcome at my table. So if you're ever
Well,
free, let us know.
I'm down once again too. I'm down for a one shot. I'm down for, campaigns are going to be hard. I'll like, hey, tomorrow morning, if anybody's interested, I'll be on Gothridge Manor's channel, and we're actually going to do a duet. So we're going to do 9 a.m. Central. We're doing Shadowdark, and so we're going to do some duet stuff, do character development,
Cool.
build out his world a little bit. Build my character a little bit and just kind of discover some things and just kind of mess around with it and just kind of go from there. So yeah, so little things like that I can do at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and we'll go for an hour or whatever we'll do. That kind of stuff I'm down for, but I can't do 4-hour sessions. There's no juice, man. I bring no juice.
Oh, I hear you.
It's an energy level. It's an energy level thing at this age.
My Lamentations campaign that I ran for 3 years, it was 2.5 hours Thursday nights, hard stop because work in the morning, I'm already tired. So I get it. I totally get it. We have
Where's our friend tonight, by the way? We're missing a member here.
Who, Brian?
Are you talking about Brian?
Yes, where's Brian?
Brian just shows up whenever he wants.
Yeah.
He does
Yeah,
he does the fun stuff.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I mentioned him because I know you do paid games and he does paid games. I'm like, this would be a great one for you to join.
Yeah.
To talk with, but he's got something going on tonight. I can't remember
Well,
what.
Actually,
I'm just was concerned. I missed his
no,
presence.
he's fine. Actually, Brian,
Everybody, we're actually going, when we get to the level where we're selling merch, there's going to be a shirt that says "Everybody loves Brian."
Yeah.
Or where's Brian?
Everybody
Yeah.
loves
Or
Brian.
where's Brian? That's a good one. Yeah, where's Brian?
Well, to be
like it.
to be fair to Brian, he he was on that first podcast that we did. And he was there all the time. And when this came up, I think I don't know exactly why he was fairly timid about it, but he did decide that he wanted, when we have shows where we're just hanging out and we don't have a guest, which is about every third show, something like that, you know, and we're just kind of chewing the fat, excuse me.
Yeah, what are you
That's when he wants. Yeah, I know,
It's kind
right?
of gross, really.
It is kind of gross, right?
You eat little
Shit
pieces
bricks.
of shit for breakfast.
Speaking of which, in the game the other night, I just want you to know, Matt, sort of out of character, that fort, those guys keep warm by burning bricks of camel shit, and they're only allowed to burn 3 a night, but 5 would keep them warm all night. So what did I do when we had to go back into the city? I spent 20 gold, and I had a whole wagon full of shit bricks sent out to my boys at the fort so they could stay warm.
So that's how you made your money. You're
I didn't make
peddling in
any
shit?
money. I didn't make
Oh.
any money. I didn't make any money. That's a
Oh,
gift. A wagon full of
oh,
shit bricks.
I see. I see.
But the
Okay.
point, I'm buttering these guys up.
Oh, I
We gotta
know. I
find
know
out
your
about
game
all-
plan. I know your
I'm
game plan.
telling you,
And
I'm
when
gonna
they're
take
nice and
over the
warm and
world.
cozy, I'm gonna cut their throats and animate them as spore zombies. It's gonna be fantastic.
No.
All right.
No. Dude, we
I'm gonna
found a
wait till
lot of
I'm gonna
stuff.
wait till after that session to join the game. That's what I'm gonna do.
I kept
Now
last
that I
night-
know this.
Last night, there was a couple times where we'd be like in a hex crawl, and I'd be like, all right, so before we get to the fort, can I just tell you guys something? I want to tell you in the desert while we were alone. I need to know what Akapupu. I need to know where he gets his stuff. I want to know if he travels alone. And I'm like, they're all like, what are you going to do to this guy? I'm like, what?
Hostile takeover.
Yeah.
Hostile takeover.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. It's gonna be. It's a fun game. It's the game that I've been looking to get into, and the kind of game that I'd like to run. If only my in-person gaming crew would just embrace it. But anyway, we got 5. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, Gary. I was gonna say we got about 5 minutes, and I know you've been on the show before, but this is the first time you're spotlighted, and I always ask this. What is your Appendix N? What books, music, movies, anything that gets you jazzed about the game, influences you, all that stuff? What is your Appendix N?
I would be amiss if I did not share that. First of all, I chose the name Flint Fireforge because of the wonderful series Dragonlance, which was one of the very first. I mean, I was reading fantasy at a young age. I was reading fantasy in elementary school. And I remember reading the Black Cauldron series. I remember reading the something about the dark Cooper. Her last name was Cooper. And it was something about the dark something series. And anyway, I read those 5 books. And so when I got older and I discovered this Dragonlance series, boy, that really. So having been used to it, it's odd that I just remembered that I've always been attached to a series. Like I've read individual books, but sure. But most of the time I'm like into a series, right? I'm like, so when I found Dragonlance, I was like, wow, that and that this may come as a maybe this is a confession of some kind. But you know, that there are a lot of people, I think, you know, I love OSR, right? But my games tend to play high fantasy. And I think because of that, there is, trust me, there's been enough injuries and things that are going on. But my games tend to lean high fantasy. And I think that's because of Dragonlance. And I think that's because of starting out with a series like that, because everything was so way up there, right? So that's probably why my games, you know, are not necessarily down and dirty all the time, but lean into that more high fantasy stuff, and so that was certainly, you know, that's, you know, part of that is those books there. I'm trying to think of some other, and I have some. I remember reading Stephen Lawhead had a great book, a great series of books. And I'm trying to think. I mean, I've read. Well, if you really want to know, I mean, I read. I don't know if anybody. I was reading a series in high school, and I'd bring books every day. There's no way I was doing work. I'd much rather read. There was a whole series of books called The Executioner, Mac Bolan, The Executioner, and it was all about the. I read like 80 of these books.
Whoa. Is that the Remo Williams?
No, that's The Destroyer.
That's The Destroyer. Okay.
Yes,
cool.
he meets Chun and all that stuff. My friend and I grew up. If we were on 2 tracks, he was the Destroyer guy, and I was the Executioner guy. And we'd always pass each other in the hallway and talk about what book we're reading. And we'd read them in the class and all that stuff. So Mac Bolan, who happens to be that was a whole thing with fighting the mafia. And that was it. That was like, that probably influences like my brain somehow that
Yeah.
we're these, characters that are out there doing good in the world and getting rid of these monsters. So yeah, there's probably, like I said, there's a ton of, I'm just looking around at my shelves at, oh man, the Myth series. The Myth series.
Mything
Robert
persons.
Asprin.
Yes.
Robert
Fuck
Asprin.
yes.
And here's why too, is because humor. So you got high fantasy and lots of humor in the game probably has influenced me quite a bit. So when I read fun books like that, when I read fun, like the Myth series or the sci-fi one that he did called Fool's Company. So when you have those type of matchups, that's probably the mashup in my brain. Music wise, probably heavy metal. Lots of Motley Crue and AC/DC and ACD especially. For those about to rock, we salute you.
Nice.
Absolutely.
So those type of epic, right? That gets back to why I think games can be epic, is everything. Dragonlance is epic, metal is epic, right? So I want these grandiose type of adventures, or these high fantasy type of things where there's worlds beyond worlds that are going on there. So yeah, there's
another fine myth. Who did that? Yes, it's another fine myth. That was the first book, and it was incredible. It was so much fun when I was a kid. I must have read like
I never read it.
These are this is mything. They're all myth, but Mything Persons.
Yep,
is a great one. Another series, The Sleeping Dragon by Joel Rosenberg, which was the original. I would say the original kids playing a game sucked into a real fantasy world.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never read that. Did you ever read any of those choose your own adventure books that came out in the 80s?
Some I probably read one or two of those. They came across my path at some point.
That was my jam.
Every single one,
yeah. I mean, like that primed me. So when I read the red box set and Metzger's like intro adventure, it read just like a choose your own adventure.
Well, and I just want to say with Robert Lynn Asprin, I don't know. I've never met anybody that's like, I'm a fan of his necessarily, but
I loved all his stuff.
Yeah, Another Fine Myth was incredible, and one of the things that he did that I will forever love him for was putting together Thieves World.
Oh yeah.
Thieves World was incredible, and he was really the driving force. It's a shame that you can't reprint those, and there's all these legal hangups, and it'll never be a TV show, but it's so good, just so good.
Yeah.
Thank you for the sticker, Snake Oil, Sean.
And I think high fantasy, I would agree. Dragonlance was one of my first, and I think that really ingrained the whole action adventure, kind of larger than life. I want it to be more than just a guy crawling through a dungeon. I want to crawl through a dungeon because he's got to find the spear that is going to kill the dragon, that's going to do the thing, do the thing.
Yep.
So
another guy who's influencing me, and I've read over the past couple of years, is Simon R. Green. And he has a series called Something from the Night Side. Cannot recommend it enough. It's one of the best fantasy. It's a I don't know. It's a fantasy because it's about a detective who goes into a fantasy world in the night side, and it's a world of characters, man, and it is just bonkers. I'm like, it's super fun. It's just a super fun series. So this particular series by Simon R. Green, he also has one called The Havens, where it's a husband wife city guards. They're city guards, and it's a great adventure there. There's like omnibuses of the books or whatever. And those are super fun. So that type of stuff there is also humorous. This is really funny stuff as well. So I think matching up that kind of humor in there has always kind of been a part of my appendix N when it's influenced the games.
Cool.
We're
But
there,
your traditional
man.
movies too, you know, all the ones that we mentioned, Deathstalkers and
Yeah.
Hawk
Yeah.
the Slayer was the
What-
best
what-
because you had a repeating crossbow, and
Yep.
everybody needed a repeating
And
crossbow.
Yep.
I'm actually was about to ask you which of those old fantasy movies do you is there one in particular that is your favorite? And we
I
can
would have to say,
exclude Conan and Excalibur because they're
yeah,
the best.
Hawk the Slayer is probably the B movie, the classic fantasy. Krull was also fantastic.
Kroll
They
was
could have.
mine.
They
Krull
could.
was the jam. If
Yeah.
you
Both
didn't
of
want
those
that glaive,
movies.
Oh,
if you didn't want that glaive,
I tried to make it a magic item in my campaign.
Both of those
100%.
movies, you could have called it Dungeons and Dragons Call, Dungeons and Dragons Hawk the Slayer.
Yeah.
Those
Yes.
were perfect. Those were really good movies for that.
Which drives me
especially-
crazy that people say, well, why don't they have any D&D movies? Well, why don't you go back to the 80s when they made D&D movies
Yep.
before they
Yep.
had to be D&D movies? That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. Go
Yeah.
back and watch those, and you're watching Sword and Sandals, and you're watching those things.
Yep.
Those are your D&D movies. And by the way, Liam Neeson was in Krull, I think.
Yes, he was.
That was one of his first
Yep.
deals. I was like, I looked back and went, oh, there's my guy.
I'm not gonna lie. I saw Kroll in theaters when I was a kid, and I walked out like I hated that fucking movie. When I walked out, I was like, "What was this fucking thing even about?"
Was it
Why
the
did-
was it the was the
It was
was
all
it
the
the
weird, the princess running through the body stuff and the whatever. And
That
I
was the
just
first
fucking bored.
I would
The
have to say
Cyclops
the
looked fake
weird,
as hell.
the weird
Nothing made sense.
The weird things, the alien things in the head, and that was like kind of horrific. I think that was what started me down my path of like weird horror gaming, because I read Dragonlance 2 and I had the exact same thought. I'm like, oh my god, this can be D&D. But that was kind of it. My best friend started reading Wheel of Time, but then I started reading things like the Incarnations of Immortality series, the freaking was it Lloyd Alexander, Chronicles of Prydain and stuff like that. Where it's a little darker, you know. So that's, and then at some point I fell in love with Dark Sun and the brutality of it. And that's how I've been playing ever since.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's this great issue of The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead used to be a comic book, and it was probably one of the best comic books ever. But there's this one issue where it shows this guy before the zombie apocalypse, and he's just a store manager, right? And then the zombie apocalypse comes, and all of a sudden he's like got the art. It's like he was born to live in this post-apocalyptic world, right? That's Matt. When everything goes to shit and people have to armor up and wade through the mud, he's gonna be beside himself with glee.
He can't wait till the apocalypse. He is waiting.
He can't fucking wait.
Let it all burn.
So, well, hey guys, we are over time. It is 11:38. We've gone past our 2 hours. Flint, thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Great conversation. I learned a lot. That was awesome. Thanks.
Thank you guys for having me. It's such a pleasure to be with you guys, and of course, hope to see you guys at North Texas if babies will allow. But I enjoy just being on the show and hanging. So,
how far away are you from the con? You're not a local, are you?
No, I live in Birmingham. So yeah, it's a 2-hour flight. It's an hour. Sorry, 90 minutes. A 90-minute flight.
Okay. So there's none of that driving to just pick you up at the hospital and bring you. Anyway.
No.
Okay.
You would have to go to Nashville for that. I'll be up in Nashville for that. That's where she lives. So we'll be making that 3-hour trek at some point. Getting
the only place as annoying as Austin, Texas, is Nashville, Tennessee. Let me tell you, that's like,
more pretentious. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, more pretentious. The only place more pretentious, man. I wouldn't say it's more it might be more pretentious than Austin, but who knows?
We got a last minute super chat from Snake Oil Sean. Thank you, sir. $5. Have you guys ever seen Game Master? Game Master, what have you done? Or Dungeon Rubber, a couple of low budget D&D spoofs by Breakfast of Demons? No, I have not even heard of that. Have you guys heard of that? Is that something you can find on YouTube?
I bet you can, because I've watched some D&D spoof movies, and they're really good. They're funny. Peter Dinklage is in one.
I saw that one.
Oh yeah.
What was that called?
I cannot remember that one.
They're all at
But he like gets
Rimfest
high
or
on
something like
shrooms.
that.
Yes.
He gets high on shrooms and he's like pretending he's like a dwarven battle rager or something. Yeah.
That's classic, man. That's good stuff.
And they actually, I think if I remember, they inadvertently summon an actual succubus, and that's what they have to deal with.
Yes. Can I make my what?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Do you have the movie? You
know? No, I cannot remember the movie. I just remember my absolute favorite moment is like the group's game master is like hyping up this like festival, this LARPing con, and he's like, "Behold the fields of Evermore," and you just see people walking around with coffee cups and stuff, and it's just like,
that's right. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it's exactly what it is. I'll make my pitch though for the movie that I want to see. I don't know whether it's a comedy. I think it's probably horror. It works two ways. You hire a group hires a professional dungeon master. That dungeon master goes to the house, and they're invited over to his house, and there are literally traps in the house. Like the players start dying one by one because of these traps, or something is happening. And I don't know if it's horror humor, like a Shaun of the Dead type thing, or if it's just straight like, this is chaos, this is really bad, this is like something happening here. And then they become the real party to defeat the dungeon master. They gotta
it either needs to be human centipede style horror, horrible,
really go over the top with it,
or it needs to be a comedy like Naked Gunner Airplane
or Hot Tub Time Machine.
Something of that
nature. Right. It's got to go one way or the other, but I like both versions of that. So I'm waiting for the paid dungeon master to be
Knights of Badassdom. That was the name of the movie. Yes.
But yeah, I want to see I want that movie out there. I want the professional dungeon master to be the real murderous DM that he is either getting revenge on a party kids he grew up with, maybe, or that teased him. I don't know. I'm fleshing this out. I'm spitballing.
I like it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Calvin Green's Strict Time Records Must Be Kept, a Lamentations adventure that has a very similar premise. It's a death trap mansion, coupled with the fact that the players have been poisoned by their host, and they have 24 hours to find the potion, the cure in this death trap. It's fantastic. Anyway,
okay, I'm down.
It's fantastic. All right, Gary, anything else? Last words?
I'm good.
Not last
I'm
words.
good.
That's more.
I'm glad to be back. I hated missing last week. Friday night doing this show is kind of the kickoff to my weekend, sort of the highlight of my week a lot of times. And I hated not doing it last week. So Matt, I'm glad you're back. And Flint,
I'm glad we're back.
Man, we
this was a great
do this
Flint.
More often. Yeah, thanks.
This was a great way to come back.
Go check out Crit Happens on Drive-Thru RPG.
Link is in the description.
And if you followed Flint here to our channel, go ahead and subscribe. We do this.
Please do. Yeah.
Hang out. Thanks a lot.
All right. But with that said, guys, chat's been great. Really appreciate all the super chats and stickers. I'll make sure I look and see that it says sticker from now on. But thank you, everybody. But with that said, our watch is ended.